Hey guys, welcome to the show Maraha and back to fitness number 27. So the last time I was talking to you, I was preparing to do two races over the weekend. My County Masters road race, which was a 6k road race in Ferns, and the 10-mile road race in Kilbeggan on Sunday gone. So we hopped in the car and drove down to Ferns Friday evening. It was about an hour and 15 minutes drive. Not too bad. I'd prefer if you had a 30-40 minute drive to a race, but because it was in the evening, the body is pretty well limbered up, so not too worried about that. Got down, started to do a warm-up. Now, what tends to happen when you know so many people in the race, you get talking to so many people, and your warm-up tends to be a little ad hoc, not really what you'd normally do. But I wasn't too pushed. I wasn't there to break any records. There was no any hope of getting near maybe even a PB. So just chatted, enjoyed the evening, didn't worry about anything. The race, where it starts, is on the main road in the hard shoulder, so it was like, I think it was over 60 people in the race, and that's a lot of people to try and squeeze into the hard shoulder of a busy road. So everyone was not their usual, trying to be as far up the front at the start line as you'd normally see in a race. So the race took off, and in the first couple of 100 meters, a lot of people passed me. People who are faster than me at the moment just started just behind me, so I didn't worry about that, didn't panic about that. The first mile is slightly uphill, so I just went with the flow. I knocked out, I think it was like a 5:54, 5:55 mile, and the next 2 miles were kind of slow, 6:06, 6:08ish pace, and they're decent enough terrain, like. And the funny thing about it was the last 0.73 of a mile, which makes up 6 kilometers, 3.73 miles. I actually ran back down under a 6-minute mile pace again and finished actually really strongly. Last 400, maybe 500 meters, there was a guy just up the road in front of me, and I just really dug in to catch him and get past him, that's kind of unusual for me in that I don't usually have a really good finish. But then again, it depends on the opponent. Sometimes you'll put in a spurt and catch someone, and they'll just see you coming over their shoulder and they'll just take off and leave you. But gave me great confidence. I think I ran 22:30, something like that. Now 2018 was the last time the Masters ran on that course, and I remember I was running okay at the time. I was pretty fit, but I was in a bit of a lull. I wasn't didn't have great form, and I ran 21:27. I'd love to be able to run 21:27 right now and say I'm not in good form. So that's further down the road. I think it was 6:02 pace. I was hoping to run 6-minute mile pace, and I ran 6:02 pace. So happy days with that. I wore the ASICS Meta Racer. So the Meta Racer has a plate in the forefoot of the shoe. It's not a full carbon plated shoe, and it doesn't have a big, thick, chunky super foam underneath either. It feels much more like a traditional racing flat, and my idea was I wanted to run the race in a shoe that wasn't a super shoe, and then Sunday to race in the super shoe to see if I could see any difference. So let's have a little look here at how the race, or how I looked running in the race. So thanks to Thomas Harrington, a clubmate of mine, for taking this little bit of footage here. That's there after maybe a kilometre, just over a kilometre, coming into the village, into the square in Ferns, and around the corner to head back out into the countryside. And there you have me absolutely bombing the finish out of it. I think I look actually like I'm moving fast, which is unusual for me. But anyway, all in all, Ferns 6k Master Road race, really happy with how it went. Absolutely no hint of an injury or, tweaks or anything at all, which was super. So let's move on then to the Kilbeggan 10 mile. So got on the motorway, up the motorway, got to Kilbeggan, got there about 40 minutes before the start of the race, which is absolutely perfect. Now the race was starting at 11. So I had to be up pretty early to drive up. It was just over a 2-hour drive. Same thing again, driving like that to a race is not ideal. But to be fair, the way I was approaching both of these races was more of training races. Sometimes you use races as a tool to get you to where you want to be for the race that you're really targeting. In real terms, like every year, you can really only target maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 races to perform your best in. If you're trying to perform your best in every single race, it just doesn't work, and you'll end up frustrated, and normally you'll end up injured because you'll keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So you have to pick out races that you're targeting and use other races then to help you to get you into the position you want to be in to perform in your goal race. So these 2 races for me were those type of races. So as I was saying last week, 62:30 would have been the target for this 10-mile race, but the course was lumpy. I have to say now, it was quite hilly. Surface was pretty good for most of the way around. So I wore the Saucony Endorphin Pros, and absolutely fantastic. I got to 6 miles in the race, and I remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm at 6 miles already, and my legs felt actually quite good, even after running the race Friday night. And even with all the hilly sections, like the first 3.5 miles are basically climbing. From 3.5 then to 7, it was very up and down, some decent patches, but still a few tasty little hills thrown in there. And just before 7 miles, there was another lovely little hill. You could see it off down the road, and you're thinking to yourself, oh man, here's another bit of a monster. But when you got closer, you saw people turning off to the left, so you were only going to kind of going halfway up that hill before you swung left, and that was a bit of a relief, to be honest with you. The last 3 miles then were tasty. The last 3 miles of the course were the fastest 3 miles of the course, and the last mile you ran up over the motorway. So you ran up the ramp on one side and over the motorway and then down the other side. And I had done my warm-up coming back out that road from the finish line. I ran the mile out to see what the last mile was like, and I knew once you got to the top of the motorway and you came down, it would boom for the finish. Like, so ran up the one side of the motorway, didn't lash it up, just got to the top and said to myself, right, now it's time to go. Got down the other side and just took off, and my last mile was my fastest mile. That's huge confidence that you can knock out your fastest mile in a race as your last mile. I have to say now, I came over the finish line and it was a case of trying not to get sick. Don't think I was going to get sick, but you know that feeling where you're heaving, you're kind of, oh, then I was fine after maybe 30-40 seconds. 62:48, so I was 18 seconds out from what I kind of predicted. But when you take Friday night into consideration, it was, even though the last 3 miles from 7 miles onwards was the really tasty part of the course, it was around that 6.5 to 7 mile mark where I started to notice that my stride length started to chop or shorten ever so slightly, that I wasn't striding out and lifting my knee as hard as I had been previously. So Friday night did catch up on me to a certain extent. Now I'm absolutely delighted to run 62:48, even though I think it's actually my slowest ever 10-mile road race. To get around in one piece and to run that time, I'm really happy. Confidence is growing. Times are coming down. Weight is coming down. Really enjoying my running. Really enjoying even just going for a regular run, because my feet are starting to play ball. I have less and less issues. Getting in the pool. I was in the pool the other day. I did a really good swim session in the pool the other day. So my swim technique is starting to come back to me. The only small problem I have now at the moment is my time frame. So I'm less than 2 months out now from London. I have the I'll half marathon in about 3 weeks time. And normally at that stage of training, I'd hope to be hitting that marathon heading for 80 minutes. Now, I don't know if I can get to that situation in the next 3 weeks. We'll have to wait and see. But that will be the race that I run that I will judge my goal time. I'll know after running that race if I can still target the sub 250. It could be a thing where just getting sub 3 might be the target, but we won't know until we run that race, see what time we run in the conditions on that course. I've ran that race many times, and it's a really good indicator of your fitness level. There's loads of super flat on it, but there's 2 monster hills in it that really knock you for 6. So really tests your endurance, your speed and your endurance. So I look forward to that. It's on the 29th of August. The only issue is it's my mother's 70th birthday, and we're all going away to stay in a hotel the night before. So I'll have to be watching what I eat, and obviously no alcohol. Now, let's look at what I've done since the race. So yesterday morning, I ended up running about 2.5 miles. That's the Monday after the Sunday. I had intended not to run at all yesterday, but I brought my daughter to her play group thing, and so I ran home from that. That's basically all I did yesterday. Was hoping to get for a swim, didn't make it. Got to go for a swim today, but this morning the first thing I did was I did a tempo run or a tempo effort run. I didn't really try and lash it out. I didn't really try to run really fast. Just ran at a good steady pace just to see how the body felt after the 10-mile race, because I knew it's only 2 days later. You're not going to be nice and fresh, like, even though I ran very little yesterday. So I knocked out 8.5, just under 8.5 miles at an average pace of probably around 6:50, which I was really happy with. Now, I did it in the ASICS Magic Speed, and like I was saying before in the review of the shoe, it's a very stable ride. It's a nicely cushioned ride, so I really enjoyed doing it in this shoe. It gives you a super amount of cushion and protection from the road, which is exactly what I'm looking for in this marathon cycle. I'm trying to incorporate the super shoes into the training as much as I can to save the legs. And it's very interesting to look at the race Sunday. Normally after I run a 10 mile or a half marathon, my calves will be quite tender and sore. But a couple of races, the longer races I've ran in the endorphin range, I've had absolutely no issue at all with my calves and my legs. Now, after the half marathon, my legs were a little bit sore. But that was my first half marathon in a long time. It was actually my longest run at the time for months. After doing the race in this guy now, my legs feel good at the moment. Being able to run 6:50 pace or 8.5 miles this morning illustrates that. So starting to see that kind of benefit from the super foam shoes, the super shoes, giving you the protection and the ability to train again quicker maybe, or do that little bit extra that maybe you couldn't do before because you needed a little bit longer to recover. So that's going to be very interesting. For the rest of the week now, not planned for the next 3 weeks until that half marathon, so it's kind of just tip away at the training now. Try and get a few longer runs in. Like, my longest run so far has been it was 14.5 miles, something like that. I need to get up to like 16, 17, 18 miles over the next couple of weeks. That's quite important. And my kind of tempo-ish run needs to get up into double figures as well over the next couple of weeks to give me a better chance of running a better time in the half marathon in Aldgate. So that's about it for this week. I'm absolutely delighted. Like, I'm really buzzing. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in the next 3 weeks. I'm really looking forward to Aldgate now. It's just, I'm in that kind of runner's high to a certain degree at the moment. When things start to go your way after a long period of them not going your way, it feels like you're getting back all the hard work and all the graft and all the disappointments. You paid your dues, and now it's kind of your time to maybe have a bit of luck. That's how I feel at the moment now. Touch wood, that's what continues for the next 2 months, and we can get to London and we can run a really good race. But that's where I am at the moment, guys. I hope your training is going really well for you. I hope you're racing away. I hope your fitness is improving. And if you're not running PBs, that you're on your way to getting back to running PBs and enjoying your running at the moment, like I am as well. So thanks very much, guys, for tuning in. Take care, and we'll see you soon.